From reflecting on an Olympic bid that never came to pass to the push for long-promised online protections, contending with overcrowding at Lake Louise, and making the most of imperfect produce. Our Primetime This Week panel is in, and joining us this evening, social worker and community activist Karen Richards and Tom Keenan, professor in the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape at the University of Calgary and the author of Techno-Creep. Good evening to you both, and let's begin on the Winter Olympics officially getting underway today in Milano Cortina, Italy. Winter Games that could have been kicking off in Calgary. Despite preparations for a potential bid, a referendum back in 2018 saw Calgarians putting a stop to it.
No, I don't have any regrets. I'm excited to watch the Olympics in Italy, and I'll be cheering on our athletes. But I don't think hosting the Olympics was the right thing for Calgary.
Now, supporters of the bid still maintain investment in infrastructure would have made it worthwhile.
A rail line from the airport to downtown, a rail network between Calgary and Edmonton, a rail system from Calgary to Lake Louise. These could have all been part of an Paralympic bid.
The cost of the arena alone is more than 3 times what it would have cost for us to host the Olympic Games. And we would have gotten the arena 1/3 subsidized by the province and 1/3 subsidized by the federal government.
As for business community perspective,
we know that the government's very focused on increasing the tourist dollars that come to the province. This would have been such an important catalyst to really move that forward.
And as for the current mayor, who, as a councillor at the time, was a vocal opponent.
And I think right now, when we see our current infrastructure situation, what's happening with the water main, I think we're breathing a sigh of relief that we're not hosting the Olympics this time around.
The outcome of that 2018 referendum in Calgary, 54% of voters said no, thank you. Karen, how different do you think Alberta would be right now had Calgary made the bid and won the right to hosting the Games?
Yes, I think that Alberta in itself would probably remain mostly the same, but maybe, who knows, they could have found that water main problem in Calgary before it happened, and then there would have been a lot of money invested in trying to fix it up really quickly. Or maybe there could have been that rail line from Edmonton to Calgary, which would have been really good. We don't know exactly what it would look like, but we do know that there definitely would have been infrastructure dollars that were put in place. But what I know also in Alberta is that if it's not hockey, they're not really putting infrastructure dollars to it. So I have a feeling that that's why some of the Olympic madness maybe didn't bite Calgary so much in the butt at that time.
Tom, as the Calgarian on the panel, lost opportunity. How are you reflecting on that decision less than a decade later?
Oh, I really wish we had done it. You know, back in '88, I took a month off from work. I became a reporter. I was embedded to go into the Olympic Village. I traded with the Jamaica bobsled team and things like that. It was a really exciting time, and I was kind of hoping it would happen again. It would have brought, as was mentioned, transit lines and arenas and stuff like that. And other things like that Olympic Oval from 1988 is starting to show its age. I guess we do have to respect the will of the people. I don't get the mayor's point about the water infrastructure, though, because athletes are all going to drink bottled water and spectators are drinking beer, right? So I don't think that would have been a relevant factor.
Karen, how about the here and now? How excited are you for the Winter Games to get underway?
Yeah, I do truly love having the Olympics, but we actually watch it more of a background. What really gets me excited is those athletes that are there that have just one athlete that's from the whole country, and they're there to represent their whole country. There's one who's actually a Canadian now, but is from Venezuela and is participating in a cross-country ski event. So I'm excited to see that. Opening games are today, or the opening ceremonies. So I think it's going to be another great 10 days of entertainment.
And Tom, if there's a discipline that I suspect you're probably watching for, it has something to do with the alpine sports?
Absolutely, the snowboarding and some of the ski jumps and things like that. Those are going to be the fun things to watch for me.
All right. Next up, we heard from child safety advocate Sarah Austin off the top of the program this evening on pressing Parliament to fast-track long-promised online protections. Tom, as a nation, how far behind the curve are we on this, especially as growth in the use of AI rapidly accelerates?
We're behind the UK, we're behind Europe. Everybody knows we're behind Australia because they passed that ban on under 16s having social media. It remains to be seen whether that's actually going to work out for them or not. So what's happened is that there have been attempts to do this twice in Canada. Laws have been, going forward, and then they were interrupted by elections. So it's just kind of bad luck. But the other thing, of course, is the pressure of the tech companies. They have very powerful lobby groups. They want essentially no control over what they do. It's starting to get so persuasive, though. We're having suicides. We're having kids being groomed over Roblox and kid sites like that. So I think it's inevitable that we're going to have a law. I guess the upside might be we'll have the benefit of all the other jurisdictions and what they tried that did and did not work when we finally get our Online Harms Act.
Karen, as a parent, how do you view the cost of delayed efforts to regulate digital platforms, protect young minds?
There's definitely a cost, but I think that as a parent, it's also my responsibility to try and reduce that cost as much as I can. So I have I call them strict, and my kids are at least call them strict rules in terms of what my kids are into on the phone and how often they're using it, when they're supposed to or not supposed to, because the responsibility, we can't rely on all of these tech companies to actually do it. We saw them all at the presidential inauguration. They have VIP status, and they are going to continue to utilize things like AI to be using our kids to train those machines so that in the future they eventually even won't have jobs. I think it is our responsibility as parents, as citizens, and as governments to make sure that there's rules in place to try and reduce some of these effects, but it is inevitable. There's not too much that we can do when the tech companies are going to be fighting it tooth and nail.
All right, well said. Time for us to take a bit of a break. When we come back, contending with the strain of tourism and an Alberta company making the most of a unique business opportunity. More from our Primetime This Week panel in a moment. Welcome back. Lake Louise is a hugely popular destination, so much so it's led to overcrowding concerns. Since 2010, foot traffic has increased 70%, with 2.6 million people visiting annually, putting a strain on facilities from May through October.
As the station continues to increase, new approaches and tools.
And to help guide the way, Parks Canada now seeking public input on managing visitor use for the next 5 to 7 years.
They expect to enjoy nature. People are not coming here expecting to get the Costco parking lot vibe. And that's something we have to be very careful to listen to.
Already under consideration, a parking reservation system, parking time limits, even a ban on personal vehicles along Lake Louise Drive. Some working in the village also suggest ditching the federal government's Canada Strong free entry pass, which is set to return this summer.
Our park is overwhelmed already, and the park needs to be funded.
And Lake Louise, not alone in feeling the pressure, as we've seen in recent weeks, including this Skijoring event. It pushed Banff well beyond capacity. Vehicles parked outside of town, lined up, as we can see there. Karen, how heavy a hand do you feel Parks Canada needs to employ here to rein in these visitor pressures?
So I don't live in Lake Louise. Maybe those who do won't like what I'm about to say, but I really hope that they don't take away that Canada Strong and free pass or use a heavy hand to make it so that people are not accessing these parks. More of the problem is the vehicles specifically, as opposed to more people actually being there. So I think that anything that they can do to increase funding, one for trail systems, of course, but also to figure out how can we get better shuttles, maybe from Calgary, all the way from Calgary, not just Banff, to Lake Louise. How can we ensure, I thought parking was a way to really reduce it, but parking in Lake Louise is really expensive also. It costs almost $38 a day. So something like a reservation system for parking is something that maybe could work, but let's not go too hard to make it inaccessible for others who may not have been able to enjoy the park in the past.
Tom, how do you weigh the impact of the Canada Strong Pass on national parks and the decision to bring that free entry back for another holiday season?
It's going to increase the traffic even more, but I am so sentimental about Lake Louise because the first time I saw it, I was leading a bike trip. It's when I came to Alberta, and we biked up that road all the way up that hill for the sole purpose of going in the swimming pool so we could get a shower because we were so sweaty. So, there's that pull of it, but people go there and they don't want to be stumbling over other people lining up to take selfies and stuff. What I can tell you is that if you go a little off the beaten track, like we used to take a group up by the Valley of the 10 Peaks, totally crowded the first half hour, nobody after you get nearer the top. So, the reality is people could spread out a little better. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask people to take a bus in there. They do that in the U.S. in Bryce and Zion Parks and Grand Canyon. And there's so many other great places, like there's K Country. And, to that point about the Canada Strong Pass, what I really wish they would do is get rid of the dopey K Country Pass. It's such an annoyance to stop and buy that thing. And there are great scenes in there. So maybe we can spread some more tourists down Kananaskis Country Way.
All right, for us, one more topic, and it's a new online food delivery company taking root in Edmonton and Calgary. And it's unique in that it's selling imperfect produce from farmers and growers, food often turned away from the grocery store.
So this could be an undersized apple, it could be a misshapen pepper, perfectly good to eat, but maybe just doesn't look perfect.
Part of the company's mission is to reduce food waste. According to Second Harvest Canada, more than 46% of food is thrown out, and 42% of that is avoidable.
Companies will default to the easy route, which is sending it to landfill, right? And that's the worst outcome for food that really deserves to be eaten.
While the produce from Odd Bunch may not be good enough for store shelves, it is good for you.
The nutrition for fruits and vegetables, they depend more on things like the soil quality, like weather and other growing conditions. The
selection of produce from Odd Bunch changes with every delivery. Tom, what do you make of this as a business venture and the impact it could have on the marketplace?
It's a great venture. I happened to be at a retreat house recently, and I said, where do you get your vegetables? They said, we get them from the Odd Bunch because they're a good deal. This is actually not a new idea. For years, the city of Calgary social workers have run something called a good food box. Same type of idea. They're not necessarily misshapen or anything, but it's you pay $20, $30, $40, whatever size you want, and you have to go pick up the box, okay? I now use a service that delivers the box, and I'll say the name, Pico Produce. And what they do is they throw other things in as well, because they are the people who make the meal kits, the fresh prep meal kits. So sometimes there's like a whole meal kit in there. So yes, I love this idea. It doesn't matter who you get it from, as long as you make good use of that food, you're helping the environment and helping yourself.
Karen, how does imperfect produce land with you, especially at a time when we're all contending with this issue of affordability?
Yeah, we definitely are. And I love this box. I love this idea. It leads to more cooking, more meal planning, more people eating food that is more likely to actually be in season, which is actually good for sustainability also. I think it also really helps to reduce consumerism a bit, where we are all made to think that for things to be good, they have to be perfect. And I think that that is not the truth. And so I love the concept of this really posing that. Visitors that I've had come from out of the country come to the grocery store and think, wow, every single apple looks exactly the same, but that's not how it grows in nature. And so I think that that's what we also need to recognize. Get closer to your food and see what it really looks like and is made out of.
All right, you two, 20 seconds each, a winner or a loser. Karen, you're up.
I'm going winner. This is my favorite time of year, favorite month. It's the month of family, of love. There's Valentine's Day. And of course, it's Black History Month. I just want to give a quick shout out and an RIP to Dr. Deacon John Hagan. That's a loss for our province, but we're all winners in general.
All right. Tom, take it home.
American political scientist, his name is Norm Ornstein. His son tragically died in an accident at the age of 34. And, he was a rich kid. He went to all the best schools. What Norm is doing now is he's endowing his son's favorite thing, which is debating among underprivileged kids in Washington, D.C. Absolutely a great idea, because debating makes you take both sides. You don't know if you're affirmative or negative. So it's a foundation now, the Matthew Harris Ornstein, Norm Ornstein Foundation.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Great to see you both. Hope you have an awesome weekend.
Take care.
Bye, guys.